Thank you for that, like, rousing ovation for the first panel of the day. You usually don't get like that kind of round of applause. I think this is a great event, and it's great that Stagwell is so committed to bringing brands back to news. And I always think a lot of times the media business is made to be very complicated, but it really boils down to three things. It comes down to what you make, how you distribute it, and how you make money. So I want to talk, and to me the center of that is the product, and the product needs to be modernized, it needs to be changed, okay? And in order to get people spending on news again. So we're going to talk about that, and I think product is a critical role in all of these organizations. And to do so, we got Renn Turiano, Chief Product Officer at Gannett, and Krish, the same at Newsweek. So let's start with what you make. Right? And AI is obviously top of mind for everyone. We're going to get into the distribution stuff, right? But how is it changing what you make, Renn? You guys have a new initiative with Deeper Dive, but tell me how you're thinking about how AI can improve the product.
So you asked three questions that are kind of different. How AI is changing us. We're responding to AI by doing what we've always done, even more. We're really dialing into the quality and the value of the content. The frivolous nature of the kinds of things that are most surfaced in AI search results are not the sorts of things that our consumers come to us for. And we haven't seen any decrease in traffic yet, from different changes in traffic, but not a decrease in traffic because of the AI search results that we produce. Because the kinds of things that we produce are the kinds of things that people can't get in depth through a surface, zero-click environment. But how we're using AI at Gannett, we started by using AI to improve efficiency, like many others, and that has paid off for us immensely, and we're still in hot pursuit of more opportunities there. But we're also using newsroom tools to help relieve our journalists of the kind of drudgery of some of the work that they've had to do before, so that they can focus on doing the kinds of things that they're most highly skilled at and that are most valuable to our consumers. And of course, we also are the national launch partner for Deeper Dive from Taboola, which is already a very high engagement touch point for our consumers, and it's the AI search experience on our domain, on our platform, and therefore it's backed by our journalism, our authenticity, our vetting, our proofs as well. And it is a way in for consumers to go deeper into deeper dive, for consumers to go deeper into more content on our domains. And it's been very, very successful so far. It's a very high engagement touch point.
Can you give us like some numbers behind that? Because I ask because site search on websites has been horrible for a generation. I mean, even those who work at publishers usually go to Google and put the name of their publication plus whatever they're searching for because they don't use the search, right? So I almost feel like consumers have been trained to not actually think of sites for using search.
Well, it's a high engagement touch point. People are using it a lot, and they're getting what they want from it. I think that's what's important. I don't even think of it as a search, as a replacement for the search experience. I think of it as an engagement tool. It's the start of the conversation, but it isn't the actual conversation. The conversation happens between the journalists and the readers when the readers go deeper into the results that they get from the answers that they get from the blog.
Yeah. Bharat, how are you using AI to change the product at Newsweek?
I mean, we use it in so many different ways. Just think of Newsweek as a supply chain. We actually solve for supply with edit room, our newsroom, leveraging AI to improve efficiencies, similar to Gannett and others are doing. We do a lot of content, around 300, 400 stories a day. We reach around 100 million to 130 million visitors a month. So there's a lot of content that we cover really fast, but if I had to reach out to somebody and say, hey, do you know we also cover sports? Do you know we cover pets? Do you know we cover rankings for hospitals? They may not know. So I feel like because we cover things so fast about trending topics, all the things that are really good underneath get lost. So what I'm really focused on is how can we create more personalization for the consumer, where based on their taste, we adapt, our product adapts to them, as opposed to pretty much creating one-sided voice. So we've done some really amazing experiments so far. With the search you mentioned, go to search.newsweek.com. Previously was keyword search. We would get around, say, 100 to 1,000 searches a day. And you could make the argument that why would anybody come to a publishing site to make a few searches? We converted that into a generative reality search. Since then, we've had around 30,000 searches. Right? So it's a dramatic increase because what it shows is if you give people the tool on your destination where they trust, they are willing to use that and leverage that more often. Right? So, and we're taking that lesson and then using that to create more AI experiences across the site. Soon you will see a very personalized homepage, which is not revolutionary in the media industry. If you go to Netflix, you'll see a personalized homepage for every one of us here. Why aren't we doing that in publishing industry? I have no idea. We should be doing that. We're gonna, you'll see that coming up soon.
So you recently re-platformed, right? So I wonder, I mean, look, all businesses, like you operate the old business while you're building the new business. And the site itself, I always bug around about this. Like, I'm not sure what the future of publisher websites are. Like, the product that publishers used to make magazines, used to make newspapers, and then make websites and web pages, right? Something is changing right now with AI and with the AI answer engines, in that people are getting trained to go to one place and to get a personalized answer about things. And that seems, if you look at those adoption curves against like the internet adoption and the ChatGPT adoption, not a perfect comparison, but it's like through the roof, right? So how did that affect the consumer expectations? How did that affect how you decided what you were going to build during the replatform?
Well, I mean, I think we had, we started if you go to newsweek.com now, you'll see something very different if you've been there a month ago, right? So, because we did a massive replatforming, which included rebranding, redesigning, and replatforming, because we were way behind. We were behind in technology by 8 years. Our design is all over the place. Just basic consumer engagement, we wanted to make sure we tap into. That included making our design consistent, also our branding consistent with the voice that we have, and then going into the world in a very sort of confident voice of what Newsweek has to say. And if you read an article, you should know that it's Newsweek position. Right? So that's table stakes. So how did that impact in an AI world? When somebody is reading something, say in ChatGPT or on overviews, they end up in Newsweek. We want them to stay and enjoy the experience. And that experience should be across every single touch point we have. And we built a design system called narrative.newsweek.com. That design system should translate across whether it's ChatGPT or social or our website. So we don't see our newsweek.com as the ultimate destination. We see where people's eyeballs are. That's the destination. So that's the big piece of that.
So Renn, what is, because we talk about this all the time, right? Like, what is the role of the site for Gannett now? Because obviously you're distributing content in any number of different ways that are outside of the quote-unquote .com.
The role of the site is the same that it's always been. It's just been augmented by a much more robust and dynamic distribution capabilities. Making sure that your content is liquid, that it can flow wherever it needs to go to meet the consumer where they are. That's what's happening now, and that's how the trend is moving to. But you still need a destination. All of the other endpoints, the touch points where people will go to search for things. They have to have some place to go to, to be able to consume the content and go deeper. They also follow the brand, particularly in the local markets, because that's where the real trust lies, and that's a big, important element that's almost entirely missing from generative search results. You said something a moment ago. You said that the results are personalized on the chatbots, but they're not at all. It's a common denominator. It's a consensus. It's a filtered, reduced response. It isn't personalized to the user at all, based on their preferences. It's getting there, and the manner in which the thing answers is personalized, but the responses are important.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like, if anyone used like ChatGPT, the Pulse, the new thing that they have, it's like basically a daily briefing in which it's interesting because news is a feature of that. It's part of a larger product that is telling you, it's almost like your chief of staff is telling you what you need to know that day. You're booking your email to it, or your calendar, and news is a smaller part of that, but that's completely personalized. So with what it knows about you, it will tell you the news and why it matters to you. And that to me is like, I think about that as well. It's not going to stop there. That's where it's going to go. Now, I don't know if people necessarily want that, or that's just a different use case.
I think it's a different use case. It also, again, not to be picky, but it's not personalized, it's customized. And I think that that's important as well.
Explain to me
well, it's personalized to the extent that it does get to know you based on the assets that you share with it and the things that it's able to explore. But it's largely customized because you tell it what's important to you, what to focus on. And that's something that we do happily as well, and many other news publishers do as well. Getting something that actually understands you and knows you and can anticipate it is going to drive content that you may not think you want. You like to think of yourself as an organic vegetable shopper, but really what you want is hot pockets. Then that's what the thing's going to give you, is hot pockets. And so real personalization drives things to you that it knows that you want. So much so that when you see something, you think, why in the world does it think I want that? When in fact it does know that you do. But customization and preference setting are the things that mostly resemble personalization to people.
Right. So how do you think that customer expectations will change as they spend more time in these type of environments, whether it's customized or personal?
Well, they're changing already. They're going for brevity. They're going for real control in the moment of what the thing is that they're inquiring about. Their attention span has been reduced tremendously, of course, by social and by aggregators and fields of headlines that they can look at and not go deep into. And it's only, becoming just more and more extreme. And they do expect whatever the entity is to be highly responsive and to never forget anything you've told it, and to just really know you in ways that it doesn't yet, but it simulates being able to. And we have to respond to all of those things, and we are. We're making sure that what we produce is responding to what people in cohorts are most interested in, and we measure the results of the content that we produce so that we understand what performs well and why, so that we can make more content that's like that. But we also are building tools and increasing our capability around AI and machine learning to be able to learn from customers' behaviors so we can then drive content to them. In terms of automated homepage, we have automated homepage, and we're starting automated article pages that use AI to be able to present to you the kinds of stories that are most interesting and most valuable to you in the moment.
But I mean, going to a homepage has to be a niche activity, at least in the news, right? Like you're typing in www.usa.com. I can't see the future, but like that seems like a very...
I agree, but I think if it's the same homepage in 3 years' time, yeah, it won't be as much of a destination as it is now. But what's a homepage? A homepage is a branded portal, an entity, a destination. I think such a thing will always exist. You have to go to ChatGPT, that's a homepage. These things are not as woven into the fabric of your life yet as they will be in the future. I think as they become more and more transparent, as we say in the UX, then we will be right there with them. weaving into the daily life. So yeah, users coming directly to a homepage by typing in a URL is something that will change. I think there will be a destination that they will go to, but it won't look like what it is right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of talk about trust, right? It seems like every week a new study comes out that the trust in news has reached a new low. At some point it will hit the lowest it will go, and then it will rebound. It is very interesting that at the same time we keep hearing about the hallucinations, and we all experience the hallucinations in these with these AI chatbots, and people seem to accept them, which is peculiar, right? How do you build trust within the product? I think a lot of times people will talk about trust, and it's very airy. I don't know. And to me, I wonder about how you get it in the product level.
I would say there are multiple layers. One is the emotionally do you trust something? How do you relate to something and trust inherently, right? Maybe that's a brand that they trust. And trust is also very manifold. Like, I might trust something, somebody else might not trust that. There's also an experience, user experience related trust. Like if I go to Airbnb, I trust it because it's beautiful photographs and engaging and design. There's also a technical aspect of trust. Like, let me tackle the technical one first. So when we built our search, we actually found hallucination. We used Gemini in the background, but we worked really hard to make it not hallucinate by grounding it with data that's trustworthy and objective data. And that takes a lot of effort. This is the part that people don't realize. To make an AI trustworthy, you actually need to spend a lot of time grounding it with true information and not letting it, go into its own knowledge. So if you let it go into its own knowledge or black box, you don't know what you're getting. So putting those guardrails and building that was an incredible experience for us. So one of the things we want to do is within our articles. I mean, if you read an article, say, read an article about the issues with press in Pentagon today, right? We wrote an article about it, but there's a lot of history and context behind that, right? So if you just read that article, you might think that, okay, what is the context? How do I find it? Maybe I'll go to ChatGPT and ask for it. Why go to ChatGPT? We want people to stay there and ask more information right there. So the same engine we built that's grounded in trustworthy data with our own data and Wikipedia and others, we want to make that available where people actually do it. So I think over time, if you build something that's grounded in really good information, I think the trust of itself is inherent.
Yeah, so on the distribution front, obviously, I mean, we heard there's less referrals that come out of answer engines than come out of traditional search, right? But I was at a breakfast before this, and for subscription publishers, they're actually converting at a way higher rate, like orders of magnitude. It's actually better. What are you seeing from? Obviously, traffic is fluctuating from traditional search. But what are you seeing from the AI answer engine?
I mean, it's bananas. I mean, we're seeing so many visits from the top AI engines. Right? We don't know if it's bots behind the scenes that are doing that. You see it's bots. So it's kind of hard to say where it's coming from, who, or what. But we do see referrals from there. Let's say, I don't know, the last 2 weeks, 17 million. Insane. It's, we're obviously not monitoring.
And how many of those are humans?
We don't know. So that's the hard part, I mean, the journey is basically somebody's asking for some information as a question, and the answer is from multiple sources. Right? And how that happens behind the scenes. But it's obviously coming from one of the sources, Newsweek.
So, Renn, you mentioned this is affecting different categories, and this is the distribution question. And interestingly, news seems like it's been kind of like spared by a lot of the AI overviews and ChatGPT is a different like use case. There's different categories that are definitely more impactful. I was surprised to see some data that for instance, health is way more likely than news to get an AI overview. Now, I think we see the direction of travel, but what are you seeing on the traffic front? As you said, you see fluctuations.
It's very easy to, so health can be served more easily because that content is a lot more evergreen. And there's a lot more that's established in the training data of the chatbot rather than having to go hunt around and see what's new. So the latest breaking news is available, but less of it. So there's going to be less of that. And I suspect that they don't prioritize news because of things like brand safety, because of the copyright problems that they've had, lawsuits and things like that. I think that they tend to lean away from those. Also, a number of news services have blocked them effectively now with the latest tools that are only now available because the robots TXT doesn't do really anything, and now we're able to block them more training data as well as RAC from those the major search engines. So I think that they have less news to talk about, and I also think that it's something they don't want to get that close to.
So final thing I want you to do this is, I was going to do 5 years, but I think it's too hard. So 3 years, give me what the news product looks like in 3 years.
Well, 3 years is today. It's, we're changing so rapidly.
You can't bring it back to today.
Well, I mean, we're laying the groundwork now already for what we know is going to be true in 3 years' time. We're making sure that our content is liquid. Like I said before, in the sense that it can automatically become different formats, all the way to video from a long-form story. But also, our whole distribution plan is much more dynamic and robust than it was before. We're making relationships with organizations that are using our content with attribution and with payment, like Perplexity and also Snowflake, and others, in their products, in their search results, where users can choose which brands that they want to hear from on those products. We're also, of course, in all of the channels, and social become more and more important as time goes along, particularly because it's video. That, I think, is having a brand that is liquid, that is mobile, where we're pollinating all over the information sphere in endpoints that don't even exist as well, rather than focusing so heavily on our home destination as the place where they come. But for now, that home destination is the place. Yeah, millions, 184 million, uniques per month come to our domains already, and they're not, and that number is increasing. So it's obviously not something that we want to leave behind. But I do think that portability and liquid content is the future for sure.
So Bharat, does that ring true with you as far as how you see it? It seems like people are going to be consuming more news not on your own platforms, number one. Number two, how the form it takes is going to be much more malleable and is going to be directed, I would assume, by the user itself. What else do you think is going to be the news product in 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, the future is already here, right? So, I'm traveling airplane, somebody next to me is working on their laptop, there's a ChatGPT window open while they're working with that ChatGPT as they're writing email, right? So the user behavior is already changing. They're relying on bots, they're relying on systems already. So we could easily say that, okay, I just pack all the information through ChatGPT. No, but we should be innovating to keep up with that. So the future is multimodal, meaning it's video, audio, text. We should be able to provide all of that at the same time. and it needs to be. I do see Newsweek being an assistant that people use as a trusted source for their news needs on a daily basis. They are co-creating with that, it's an assistant that lives with them. Every subscriber has Newsweek notebooks that they can work with, build. It's with them where they go. They're not coming to Newsweek.com, but it's with them in whatever device they have in the form of audio, video, or audio.
Cool. Bharat, thank you. Renn, thank you. And we'll leave it there. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for sharing what it takes to build a great brand.
All right. You know what time it is. The most important content of the day.
Snackable content.
Snackable content. Or
lunch.
we're giving you 30 minutes. Eat, put some wood in the fire, network, and seriously, swing by the newsstand, do a little shopping on us, set up your digital business card, get into it. We did it for you. Take advantage.
All right, you guys, we will see you back here at 12:10 sharp. We're going to start everything again, so we look forward to seeing you shortly. Thank you.